Hi good people, this will be part 10 of our Frogger mini-series, and in this video we'll begin working on the main map for this prototype. Let's not waste any time and just jump right into it. Alright, so first thing we need to do is actually come to our plugins, and then we're going to search for water, and we're going to enable the water experimental plugin. This will require your editor to restart, so we'll go ahead and click yes, and then restart now. Okay, our editor restarted. If you get an error, just clear it and close out of it. It has to do with the fact that we're not actually using a landscape in our default map here. So what we're going to do is we'll do File, New Level, and we're going to choose the Basic option. That'll give us a decent skybox here. And then what we want to do is we actually just want to come out and delete the platform, because we're going to be creating a simple landscape. So go under Selection Mode, and then choose Landscape. And then you can leave the defaults and just hit create. And then we have a basic landscape here. So we'll go back to selection mode, and then we can go to our add menu, search for water, and you'll have a few different options here. The one we're going to choose is the water body ocean. Make sure your water layer is at the top layer, and then just hit complete. And then the position, just hit the little reset arrow to set it at world origin. And that gives us this nice little setup here, which is perfect. Now there is a little bit of an indent here, so we can correct that. In the details panel, if you scroll down, we can see the water height map settings. And then there's a fall off settings. Right now it's set to angle. If we set that to width, you'll notice that'll clean that up right away, which is perfect. So now the next thing we need to do is we're going to add or create the roads. So we can do that by coming to the add menu at the top. We're going to search for a basic plane. I'm going to reset that to world origin by clicking this little arrow right here. And then I'm also going to rename this plane to be road. And there's going to be a few of these, so I'm going to hit this little folder icon to create a new folder that I'll just call roads. That way it'll be easier to kind of keep your details outliner kind of organized. Now that we have that, I'm going to scale it a bit. So in the X, I'm going to bump it by 10. In the Y, I'll bump it by 200. And then we have a lot of Z fighting, so what we'll do is we'll bump it up on the location Z axis. And this will be basically our road. It looks kind of bland. Let's create a material for that. So we'll go into our art folder, create a new folder called road. And then we have some textures. These are just some textures I got from the web. I will add them to the Gumroad folder, so you can get them as well. You can also just download any road texture from the web, so whatever's easier for you. So I'll drag these in. Import wizard should go pretty quick. I'm going to highlight over the color, right click, and create new material. We'll just call it m_road. And then I'll double click to open that up. And we're going to basically add the rest of our texture maps here. So I'm going to shift select these and then control click this. So we can basically have everything selected except the color, because it's already in the graph editor. And then I'll just drag them in, and we can see them all there. Drag them down here, and we'll just kind of set them up one by one. This one is the displacement map. There is a displacement node right here, but you can see it's grayed out. If we select the actual node here, in the details panel on the left, you'll want to come into the Nanite section and enable tessellation. That will open up the displacement map, so we can just plug the RGB straight into that. The next one is the normal. And that, of course, will pull off the RGB into the normal map. And then the next one we got here is our roughness. Roughness is going to go right here, it looks like. We'll drag these back, plug the roughness in there. And then this one right here is our specular. Specular is near the top as well. So I'll drag that maybe right here. And then we'll organize these just a little bit better. Pull this back, maybe pull this forward. And there's our specular. And next one we got is our ambient occlusion. Plug that in here. And that is pretty much all our nodes. So if we go to the square, you can see the road is a basic setup. Looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and save this. There is going to be an issue with it though. If I go into our plane that we added to the world, under the materials, if I add that road material, you can see it adds it, but it's very stretched. And that has to do with the scaling. So we have a non-uniform scale here, which is 10 by 200 by 1. So what we can do is under our material, we can pull off the UV pin and do a texture coordinate. And then if you hit the little drop down, it gives you U tiling. You could basically scale it the same way you scaled your material. So we did 10 by 200. So if you multiply, or if you divide 200 by 10, you get 20. So it's a 1 in 20, it should be your scaling factor there. And then we basically just want to hook this into the UVs for all your little nodes, like so. And I will add one more here. So this basically is our completed material. So if we save, and if we go back, we can see the road looks correct now. All right, so I think it'd be fun if we have multiple roads. So what we can do is just hold the Alt key, click in the arrow to drag off. And then I am actually going to change my snapping. Right now I'm using 1 grid snapping. We'll get this one lined up and then I'll do by 5, so this will be a little bit easier. But we basically just want to nudge it up and then hit escape. If you see a little line, we just need to go a little bit more. And that looks pretty good. So then we can change our snapping. I'm going to go from 1 into 5. And then what I'll do is shift select both of these so they're both highlighted. And then I'm going to hold the Alt key, drag off an arrow, and then I'll just duplicate it and it keeps it in my roads folder, which is nice. And a shortcut you can do is if you hold the Control key, you can then use your left or mouse button to move in a particular axis so you don't have to grab the arrows. And then I'll hit escape. You can see there's a little bit of a line. I think that's going to be too much. So I'm going to go back into singular here. That looks correct. And this one looks like it's got a little bit of a line, so bump that over a little bit. And then as you go across, make sure you don't see any of the underground. If you have a little bit, it's probably fine, because we're going to probably use a grass or a moss texture, which will make it easier as well. Let's go back to 5 here, and then I'm going to shift select. I'm just going to do 6 roads, so I'll just highlight 2, hold the Alt key, drag off, and then I'll hold Control, oops, and then left click, drag it over, and that looks pretty good. So now we have a road set up. We're going to add a tunnel and some sidewalk. So what we'll do is we'll come to our art folder. Let's create a new folder just called miscellaneous or mish. And then what we'll do is I'll make these static meshes available on Gumroad as well. But I have a tunnel mesh here and some textures. So I'll shift select, drag the textures in first, because those are simple. And then when I drag the tunnel in, the tunnel is going to go through an import wizard. You'll just want to make sure that the, it should still be off because we did it before, but the build nanite, make sure that's disabled. And then we'll hit import. And that's just because this is a mid or low poly asset. It's not high poly, so it doesn't work well with nanite enabled. We double click to open that up. This is going to be our basic tunnel. Let's go ahead and create the material for it. So we can right click on the albedo or the color and then create a material off that, and we'll just call this m_tunnel. Double click to open it up. And this one's pretty simple. We're just going to select the mix map and the normal, drag them in, And then we'll plug the normal into the normal. And the mix map has 3 maps. The red is the ambient occlusion, the green is the roughness, and the blue is the metallic. You don't have to worry about remembering that because that is just how I set up the export in Marmoset for my texturing program. So every texturing program could use a different layout. So I'll save that, go back to the tunnel. We'll do m_tunnel. And then we have that layout, which looks pretty good. We'll save that. Go back to our world and let's drag in the static mesh. In the location field, we'll hit the arrow to reset it. And then we're going to rotate it by 90 degrees. And then we just need to line it up. So I'm going to maybe bump it just a bit right there. And that looks okay. And then I'm gonna pull it maybe, I'll do maybe right around there. And the last thing we need to do is we need to push it into the ground, like so. And then I think it'll look better if we have 2 tunnels. So I have the cars driving from one tunnel into another tunnel. And then Frogger will basically be trying to go through the middle part there. All right, so that looks pretty good. So now let's work on the sidewalk. So just like before, we have some sidewalk textures. So I will shift select all those, drag those in here, let them import, and then I'll drag my sidewalk static mesh, which will start the import wizard. Should keep your defaults from before, so you should just be able to hit import, and that should be good. And then if we double click, we can see the sidewalk static mesh here. We need to create the material. So find the color. So sidewalk albedo is color. Right click, create material. Call it m_sidewalk. Double click to open it up. And then we just need to add the sidewalk mix map and the normal into the graph editor. And then the normal goes into the normal. Mix map, we'll take the R into the ambient occlusion, the green into the roughness, and then the blue into the metallic. And then we can save that. Go back to our sidewalk, do m_sidewalk, which is what we just created. Add that. And that's our sidewalk material, looks fine. And we can just drag this in, reset the world origin, rotate it by 270. Yeah, 270. It's also a little bit high, so I'm going to scale it in the Z by half. And that's just to make it so the Frogger player object can hop onto it and off of it without getting, without colliding with the front of it. So basically not getting stuck. And then the other thing we want to do is in the location placement, we'll want to bump it up by 1. So now it's fighting with the Z on the road, but that's okay because we're just going to kind of button it up right there. Maybe one more. Perfect. And then we just want to butt it up against the side here. So if you hold control and then left click, nope, I lied. Hold control and right click. And then just shimmy it over. Looks good. And then we can hold the Alt key, drag off here. So that'll duplicate it. And then we'll hold control, right click. And we just gotta marry these two edges together. Like so. Now we'll come over here, we can see this doesn't quite make it, so we'll just control, right click, shimmy our little tunnel over. And I think that will work from afar. So remember, the player camera is looking down, so it's not going to see a lot of these imperfections. So we'll be all right with that. But all right, so now we need the sidewalk to be on the other side. So we'll shift select both objects here. We'll hold Alt, drag that over here. grab the arrow, shimmy it over. And maybe right about there. Now the issue is that we want to reverse it. So what was that? Instead of 270, we can do what, 90? Yeah, that looks like it worked, 90. Okay. And then we just need to basically push it down. And control right click, I think it was. Yeah, there we go. Just a guess. All right. So now our sidewalk connects these two paths. The road looks good. Last but not least, because this video is getting a bit long, let's maybe fix this landscape a bit. I do have a grass texture, but what you could do as well is just click the little add button in your content drawer and then add a feature or content pack. And then select content. Unreal Engine gives you a starter pack, which has grass and moss, I think. So we can just add a project and close out everything. And then if you go to your starter content under materials, there's moss texture. Quick and easy. So now if you select your landscape in the details panel, we can come to the landscape material and we can just do a simple moss. And this is the beginnings or the shapings of our world. But all right, everyone, we'll cut the video here. In the next one, we'll add the river that our object will have to traverse across. So as always, thanks for watching, consider subscribing, and we'll see you on the next one.